Hi everybody, Bobby Ogilvy, Project Manager and Professional Coach. How much does sales coaching cost? So, as you've probably seen in some of the other videos, the right answer to this is 150 to 300 per hour. I just want to recap a bit around pricing structure so that you guys understand this. So you can charge so much per hour, per hourly session. You can charge so much per month, which is good in that at least for that month you get so many sessions in and there's a set amount you can expect. And probably the best and the one I tend to recommend for people is per package, which is multiple months and could include other perks. The other reason I actually also like packages is they tend to fit better for subsidies and grants. I know in Canada there's something called the Canada Job Training Grant, right? And those are 2/3 grants, which can cover $10,000. So as long as they're spending 15 or more for any kind of training, once per person per year, right? And so the great thing about packages is it tends to fit in that a little bit better than just say one-off sessions or monthly stuff, right? And if you think about that too as a developmental arc in terms of getting value out of someone, packages kind of know you're taking a bigger slice of time to attack this problem, and so you tend to be able to get better results. Anyway, back to sales coaching for a second. So again, the answer is 150 to 300 per hour. What's going to make you a good coach, particularly what's going to make you a good sales coach? Well, a background in sales, someone that knows how to sell. One thing I will say though is that people who particularly early on excel in sales type positions, there's an extroverted quality to them. They're passionate, they want to connect to people. There can also, and some of you may have your own experience of this, be an almost anti-intellectual quality. Sometimes they feel like at their worst. And again, I'm talking with someone who has worked in sales fields, who has years of experience doing bits of this and has seen this firsthand, and sometimes even seen the culture brings out in a person, right? It can be these slightly anti-intellectual people, and that there can sometimes be a bit of a compensatory quality that they don't. For someone that supposedly has so much drive and ambition, they haven't academically been as strong as they'd like or they could, or they feel perhaps sometimes dismissed or not treated as respectable as some other more intellectual kind of fields, right? Let's say accounting or engineering or things like that. And sometimes I feel one of the worst sales qualities is this schmoozy quality, I would call it an inauthentic quality, right? And that's not going to help you as a coach. And that's also not going to help you train good salespeople. It's going to maybe help you train other snakes, but that doesn't really speak to the best self quality of coaching. So this is back to kind of the peer coaching aspect of it, right? One of the fundamental beliefs in coaching is that people have potential. People have their own capacity to solve their own problems and create solutions for themselves, right? Which isn't just to say that someone is tapping into their own strengths and this is coming out, but if you think about sales at its worst, isn't about being aware of someone listening and solving their problem. It can be around, buy my product or service. And that's that's not sustainable. It puts other risks in your sales pipeline further down the line, and it's almost like a way of displacing risk, if you will. But I mean, as an interpersonal way of operating, it's just not a great way to handle things, right? Now, but I will say there are lots of pain points that the general person just needs help with sales. They don't know how to do sales. A lot of times I would say that even people who've studied business, they understand the kind of broad notion of marketing, which is to say they know they need a target market and they know they need to, we need to maybe do something online or maybe advertise in some venue, and like that's about it. But the actual like how do I sell to a person and what would be the stages of sales processes, the more you can understand those steps, the better. I would say, in particularly this current environment, the more you can understand online selling and online marketing, all the better, right? There's a good pain point for that. And there is an element of confidence building. I will say that sales, once you get into it, it's not that complicated, right? But it does take a lot of engagement and energy to do well. Like, it's not the most IQ demanding, but it does, EQ-wise, mean that you constantly need to means you need to be resilient and be on your game in terms of really being engaged in that situation to operate effectively, right? So those are all good things that can come out in terms of coaching. This is also a great use case of the kind of the coach consultant and the fact that there are certain problems they're geared towards solving. There's certain strengths and expertise they have which make them good at solving those problems. And so there's there's this arc of not just training someone long term, but the coaching aspect in that it becomes ever more client centered, right? It becomes ever more, okay, we can train you in these kind of models and approaches and things, but what do you think the solution is? And them coming up with their own, oh, okay, duh, I have enough knowledge for this, right? And then it's really you as the, back to you as the coach, pointing back to the client. What resourcefulness can you bring out in them? And that's what's going to make you a good sales coach. And again, as much as you can charge $150 to $300 per hour, I would push you towards packages that's going to have the best developmental outcomes and get the most value for your clients. I'm Bobby Ogilvy, project manager and professional coach.